Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another in our series of virtual campaign meetings. Tonight I want to talk to you about the call for a national debate that everybody is calling for. The leadership of the three parties capable of forming a government have a responsibility to account to you as to what they will do with the time if you give them your mandate to operate this country. The PNM and the UNC have given a lot of reasons as to why they won't do this. The Chamber of Commerce has offered to chair and host the debate. The Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago has in their ranks enough credible journalists that we should be able to find at least one to moderate it. Questions could be fielded from the audience. So it's not that difficult a thing to do. Motivated to have them present to speak to you, we did this. The truth of the matter is this: an election is an audition for a job. It is we coming to you, asking you to hire us to make your life better. Your life, and those you love, and everybody else in Trinidad and Tobago. And that's how it always was supposed to be. But Trinidad and Tobago, along the way, got caught up in something we like to call exchange, where every 5 years or so, we exchange one of these two parties for the other, and tolerated all that came with that, without having any real control over the offices of state that are supposed to make our lives better. The Progressive Empowerment Party tells you that the well-being of each and every citizen is the only reason for government. Your happiness, your contentment, the ease with which you live your life, that's the job we're fighting for. We're not fighting just to get blue lights and a big salary, a cushy job with big perks. We don't want to be, well, we shouldn't want to be just to be a boss and just to have power. The job is to serve you. Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is the chief servant of the people. And that job entails how easily you get jobs. And if you have a job, how easily you could own a home. And why don't you have water in your taps 24/7 now should be occupying at least his attention. It should have occupied hers. It has occupied mine. Water in your taps is such a pivotal issue that we've campaigned on it. We've told the nation that we get 100 times, 10,000 times, 100,000 times more water than we could ever use, falling from the sky magically for free. We've drilled that point home to the point where everybody understands it now, that our water management system was set up, designed to fail, and that we capture all of that bounty of rainfall and wash it out to sea. And that was the case on her watch for 5 years and 6 months, and it's been on the case on his watch for 4 years and 11 months, and neither seem motivated to want to fix it until we explain capture, hold, treat, distribute would save us the $500 million that we spend every year desalinating seawater. Others have told you that the problems with our water supply is water distribution, that leaks in the pipes are the problem. And yes, leaks in the pipes are the problem in this insane system that is transmitting water miles across this island that it shouldn't be doing. We have long line transmission pipes running under roads and highways that will of course break. It should not be so. each and every constituency could capture, hold, treat, and distribute its own water. It doesn't need to be a centralized WASA in Farm Road, St. Joseph. It could be 41 WASAs. We could actually create water maker companies, joint ventures, public sector, private sector partnerships that gives you water 24/7, that will allow for metering, so private enterprise would want to get involved because it would be profitable, and it would still be less money than you spend right now paying for the electricity for the pump that pumps the water from your tank when you get it. Less money than the money you spend buying bottled water. Less money than the money you spend buying truck-borne water to come and fill your tanks. And if we could get them to understand that, surely you, by now, understand that the Progressive Empowerment Party understands the problems in Trinidad and Tobago. Because she's talking capture water now. She's talking capture and hold. She didn't know that for the 5 years and the 6 months that she was in office. And you would know that if this was a debate. He doesn't know it yet. That's why he is coming out of office, leaving you and your family still with no water, leaving the country still, capturing the bounty of rainfall. If we get a hurricane, all of the water is going to be washed into the sea, and then we are going to bring in seawater to desalinate it. It's almost as if mad people designed it. But they understand now. And that's why you should have a debate. Because in a debate, both of them will have to explain why they never secured the nation's borders. Contracts to financiers to go Australia and China and New Zealand to bring in boats, OPVs, NPVs, QPVs, it doesn't matter. It's been a long-running conversation, bacchanal and noise between the two of them. And in exchange for all that time, what you've gotten is murder and mayhem and violence in your streets. Because the 50,000 guns that mushroomed from the 37,000 guns that she left, that he inherited, those guns came in here because we've not secured our nation's borders. Those guns came into this country because the maritime security wall that would have ended that was not built. For less money than we've spent on all of those stunts and all of the bacchanal and all of the noise that you've tolerated since Patrick Manning was Prime Minister, we're talking almost 30 years of nonsense passing for government. But if you got a debate, then the two of them would have to explain why they've not secured the nation's borders. Both of them will have to explain why all the Coast Guard ships are tied up in Chagaramas to the north of the country when all the drugs and all the guns and the Venezuelan ferry service running efficiently between Venezuela and Cedros that are bringing in Venezuelans by the boatload that have brought our community spread of COVID-19 that is about to cause possibly another lockdown in this country. That would have been answered in a debate. Why are our boats that we keep buying tied up in Chagaramas? Why is our Coast Guard not based in Cedros, where the drugs come and the cocaine and the guns and the ammunition and the human trafficking and now the Venezuelans bringing COVID-19? Why are we not there? Why are the helicopters now grounded? But the helicopter pilots told me, say, Philip, a helicopter have an hour and a half flying time. And it's 30 minutes to south and 30 minutes back. So we only have 30 minutes over the theater of operations. Why are our helicopters not based where we need them again, between Trinidad and Venezuela? Why not? They have to answer. And the only way that they'll answer is in a debate. The Progressive Empowerment Party, very clear. We agree with the maritime security wall. We agree with the repurposing of 6 or 7 oil barges tied up down the islands right now that we will never have use for again, costing $100,000 a month each rent. We agree with the repurposing of those barges to now house facilities for Coast Guard, DEA, police, customs, immigration, those barges placed 3 miles out at sea in a ring around Trinidad and Tobago, connected by the 360-degree radar and sonar buoys in the water, will detect anything on or below the water surface. Equipped with fast attack helicopters and interceptor boats, 3 miles out at sea would become the theater of operations for stop, search, seize, or sink. If you do not stop to be searched, if any contraband found to be seized, if you do not respond, you'll be sunk in the water 3 miles out at sea, enforcing our maritime border, the maritime security wall. And all of a sudden, boats and marine craft could only come ashore in designated landing sites where customs, immigration, and police could be. A debate would solve that, because they've known, both of them, that the maritime security wall is the solution. Both of them know that 50% of all shipping containers that come into this country come off ships into this country without so much as a look in, a sniff, a scan. So all the cocaine that makes its way all around the world, Norfolk, Virginia, Spain, Vietnam, Canada, that cocaine has ample avenues to enter this country because we've deliberately resisted unstuffing the containers on the port, and we've deliberately resisted securing this nation's borders. And in a debate, both of them could be made to answer. Because the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service will tell you that picking up guns on the street now is futile if guns are flowing into the country like water. So to secure the nation's borders will be the most important step in disarming the criminal underworld and the violent gangs. That work cannot start until we stop the flow of guns. He inherited 37,000 illegal guns from her. And on his watch, it's become 50,000, estimated. I don't know who's doing the stock checks. This is the information that's being put in the public space through the parliament. And they both have to account to you, because that's the job. The Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is the Minister of everything. According to our Constitution, you need 2 people to form a government: Prime Minister and an Attorney General. The Attorney General is the steward of the nation's justice system and laws. The Prime Minister is the Minister of everything. He's the minister of your street. He's the minister of your drain. He's the minister of your road. He's the minister of your street light. When TNTech and the cable companies make a mess on the poles unsightly in your neighborhood and cheapen your property, he's the minister of that. He's the minister of how long you wait to get to see a doctor when you go to an emergency room in a hospital. She is the minister of, when she was there, when the Prime Minister is the minister of how well your teacher, your child's teacher performs, and how well the school performs for the teacher. A minister in a cabinet is an assistant to the Prime Minister. Every minister we've ever had have been designated assistants to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is the Minister of Housing. The Prime Minister is the Minister of Water Courses. The Prime Minister is the Minister of National Security. The Prime Minister is the Minister of Finance. The Prime Minister is the Minister of everything. The buck stops with him or her. And the job is man management. The job is having an idea where you're trying to go. A real government would start off with the right team, not just rewarding members of parliament for winning the election and give them a plum post to elevate them from 33,000 to 56,000. That's not the purpose of our executive. The legislature, the parliament, those members of parliament that you're voting into office on August 10th, their job should be only that: to serve you in your constituency and to answer to your problems. To the people who tell you that the member of parliament's job is not your garbage and it's not your drain and it's not your neighbor clothesline, They don't understand Westminster. Your member of parliament is responsible for everything that affects the quality of your life. Everything. There are no differentiating lines. There are no designations. You are the member of parliament. You are my representative in the House of Representatives. And all the ills and all that ails us, you deal with. We've hired you for that job. And if you can't do the job, we're supposed to have recall, a simple act of law that would fire you. Because every little bingo club in Trinidad, every football club, every organization that hires, fires. Only in Trinidad and Tobago, we end up stuck for 5 years. Under her 5 years and 6 months. We end up stuck because they've resisted passing recall legislation that Eric Williams deliberately removed from the 1976 Constitution, so that you are stuck with them for 5 years. The Progressive Empowerment Party says, line item 1 on our legislative agenda, the first day we are the government, we will convene the parliament and we will not leave until recall is law. And that from that day, you will have the authority to hire who you want as your member of parliament. And you will also have the authority to fire that person if they lied to you, if they got into office and engaged in egregious acts of dishonesty, bad faith, if they embarrass and shame you, if you think there will be guidelines and bars to which the firing has to meet. But ultimately, the member of parliament hired in this election coming is elected to serve you. If you don't have water, if your drains are overgrown and your house is flooding when it rains, if your garbage not being collected on time, or what they've done is dropped a big bin and told you drop your garbage there, and when they filter they come and move it. These issues that sound so pedestrian are important issues to the quality of your life. And as the well-being of the citizenry is the function, or the purpose and reason for governments, and by extension, a prime minister, surely we all who would like that job have a responsibility to come and tell you what we would do, how we would fix public health. The Progressive Empowerment Party says 90% of the people who engage public health engage casualty in an emergency, accident and emergency. So why don't we have 41 accident and emergency departments throughout the country in constituency public health centers that are open 24/7? Why don't we? In a debate, you would get to ask that question. What are your plans for public health? Because you see, we spend $5 billion a year on public health, and that's about $3 billion too much. Because 41 accident and emergency rooms that would guarantee you, your loved ones, your children, being treated by a doctor in quick time, that's not going to cost $1 billion to operate. So why are we still at this point tolerating this? And why aren't you, the citizens of the Republic, being allowed to question them because of red carpet politics? They think you are beneath them. We've allowed our leaders to become lords. We've allowed elected dictatorships for 5 years, and they don't have to answer you and they don't have to account to you until it is time to come and seek your vote again. And that is insanity, because the job that you are hiring, what we are all auditioning for, is the position to take care of all of it. We live in a country where if I ask you to tell me who is responsible for financial service regulations in this country and who is responsible to make sure that the banks pay deposit interest so that it would force banks to put credit back into the system, who's responsible for that? Who's responsible for the usurious, rapacious fees banks are charging, levying on their customers now? You can't answer. I can't. They should. They don't. And in a debate, you would know why. And it is time we made all of our public office holders accountable. And a debate is the best way to start that ball rolling. It is high time the citizens of the country told all of the people that want this job that the tail don't wag the dog. That we exist to serve in this job, whoever gets the job. That our responsibility is to ensure that the economy is diversified so that the vicissitudes of the energy industry that keeps washing through this country like a tidal wave doesn't damage us collectively. We need a prime minister that can account for all plans. How are you going to educate the children? How are you going to take care of the people? How are you going to make food? How are you going to make us food self-sufficient and food affordable? And I look forward to thanking them both for the flattery of them going through Progressive Empowerment Party policies and cherry picking and stealing and plagiarizing to make themselves look capable and competent, when I have checked every version of their manifestos, 5 pillars of this and 6 pillars of that, and Vision 2020 and Vision 2030, and have found none of these issues prior to the launch of the Progressive Empowerment Party, January 18th, 2017. Now I want to tell you this with a certain amount of pride. If 2 former prime ministers agree that the Progressive Empowerment Party has the right plans to fix this country, if for all you've ever heard from me, if despite the size of the attack and the size of the attacker, I have stood firm and resounded courageously in defense of this democracy, then you know that I am capable. Those of you who have been following my track record for the 26 odd years that I have been in public, social, and political activism, you would have seen that I have delivered through lobbying, through working with governments. I have delivered a highway. I have gotten disabled parking for the disabled in our society. I have gotten and was instrumental in having 2 laws passed that have protected people in Trinidad and Tobago, and we could do so much more. I would like the opportunity to be the person that turns this ship of state around, but that's up to you. And you won't know if all you have, or if all you have available to you is speculation, bacchanal, and old noise. It's time you had the opportunity to ask all of us, if I hire you, what are you going to do for me? And that is the purpose of a debate. And that's why I brought them here tonight. Because they will try every trick in the book to avoid answering for their terms in office, for their track records, and for any plans they might have for you in the future. It's not enough to make a podium with a sign that says 50,000 jobs. That's not enough. It's not enough to say through your Attorney General that you're going to build 400 houses and you're going to hire the people to build it, so they're going to build the house, we pay it to build, we give you the house to live in. That sounds like a lot of bacchanal and corruption. It sounds like uncovering Peter to cover Paul. And if the 400 people benefit from that, great. But what about the rest of the 1.3 something million people? What about them? And we can't continue to operate the country by stunt. We can't continue to have government by VAPs and policy on the hoof. We can't just continue to allow and tolerate racist politics, because the only justification for the both of them is that someone might look like her or might look like him. If they've not delivered while in office, regardless of who they look like, aren't you just fed up of living in a country where nothing works and none of their plans sound sensible? Aren't you just tired of settling? Aren't you just fed up of all the bacchanal and the old noise? Aren't you just really, really over all of the allegations and accusations and missing money and nobody being brought to justice? Aren't you fed up of the exchange of the PNM and the UNC? It is time that you called for a debate, and those who refuse to debate, and some will tell you, why not bring every leader, because they have a lot of other political leaders out there, yes. But that's not rational, it's not sensible, because the only people that you need to be hearing from now are the people who are capable of forming a government. We have 28 candidates. We could have a special majority in the parliament if you gave it to us, and we could fix everything. If you voted every single Progressive Empowerment Party candidate into parliament, we will fix everything that is wrong with this country in 5 years with time to spare. They will tell you that 5 years is not enough, but 30 years is a lot, and 58 is plenty more. And all we've done is spiral down. We've lost everything. We've earned and spent $3 trillion and have nothing to show for it right now but a broken nation with blood running in the streets. It is time to hold everybody to account. Those who want the job, those who had the job. It is time you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, had the first and the last say. And it is time everybody understood that Prime Minister means chief servant, and Member of Parliament means we are sending you to represent us in a conversation that develops our communities and makes our lives better. And if that is not what you're signing up for, there's the door. There's one on every floor. We need a better Trinidad and Tobago, and we're not getting that until we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, decide to stand up for real change. Real change answers the questions why, how, what, when, where, even who. Progressive Empowerment Party could tell you our plans down to measurable metrics. We could tell you what we plan to do, how we plan to do it, some of the who's that we plan to implement it, how long it will take, what are the short-term, medium-term, long-term measurables, and where we would be first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. You have the ability to use that parliament to oversight your ministries and make sure everything is functional. So you don't need to wait till the end of a 5-year term in office to realize that the people that you hired failed you. It is time for real change. And if you want that, staring down the double barrel of a broken global economy and COVID-19, if you want leadership that could really deliver, it is time that you stood up for real change. Put aside the nonsense of race voting and become one people under one flag when it comes to the hiring of the people that you are going to employ to operate your nation state. You have all of the power in one of your fingers to change the way life is done in Trinidad and Tobago for you and for your children and for your children's children. If you want a better nation, on August 10th, come out in your numbers to save TNT and vote PEP. Thank you.
Save TNT, we vote in PEP. Save TNT, Progressive Empowerment Party. TNT, we vote in PEP. Save TNT, Progressive Empowerment Party. Now it's time for real change. We don't want no exchange. PEP is real change. The rest of them is exchange. Now it's time for real change. We don't want no exchange. Now it's time for real change. PEP. Save TNT, we vote in PEP. Save TNT, Progressive Empowerment Party. TNT, we vote in PEP. Put your X by PEP. Progressive Empowerment Party. Save TNT. Vote PEP.
August 10th, save TNT, vote PEP.
Save TNT, we vote in PEP. Save TNT, Progressive Empowerment Party. TNT, we vote in PEP. Save TNT, Progressive